Why would we try to make the world a better place if climate change is a hoax? Mister, can we please, not? Okay, kids,
let's
come on.
all
Let's-
stop
yeah.
trying to recycle.
Can we stop arguing?
But before we talk about my annoying classmate, I think there's something we've all already been through. That dinner table argument. That moment where someone can't help but say something racist or sexist. Yeah, Uncle Johnny, that might not end very well. Back in the old days, that little Gen Z me didn't really live, it seemed like those arguments would just stop at dinner tables. You would eat that nice meal, get back in your car, talk about how horrible Uncle Johnny is, but I guess it would actually just end there. But today on social media, there's thousands of Uncle Johnnies spreading their hate everywhere and turning it into a 24/7 dinner table war. Kind of exhausting, right? It's like arguing over and over again with your partner because they never wash the dishes. But then they start telling you that, well, you never take the trash out anyway. And then there goes an endless fight over who is the worst person. But why? Why do we feel the need to blame, to judge, instead of listening? Why can't we agree to disagree? Okay, I think we really need to talk about why it seems almost impossible for us to all disagree. And before you start disagreeing with me in the comments, please listen until the end. Something we seem to have forgotten how to do: listening. But did we really forget, or have we never learned how to? I still remember my high school English classes. There was this guy with who I would fight at almost all our presentations, because somehow he would always have the extreme opposite opinion from mine, which would make my English teacher laugh so hard. But beyond this class war, we were actually very good friends, because, well, behind it all, he was actually a very nice guy. But the more I grew up, the more I realized this wasn't just about my classes. The world itself didn't seem like it could one day agree to disagree. Actually, these disagreements would even lead to wars between nations, religions, genders, and even sexuality. You know, one of my most loyal subscribers, Nick, I hope you see this video, once told me, "I think this idea of your videos and channel is good. You just open up our eyes and then let us decide if we want to continue to live like this or not." Which I found very sweet, so thank you again. But to be honest, if I do so, it's actually because I'm still searching for the answers. And I also know that through my whole life, I've had opinions, then changed them, and sometimes even went back to old opinions. So I guess that's why I always try to never see things as just black or white, because to me, they actually never really are. We argue on many things, and I know there are hundreds of controversial debates out there, but sometimes I wonder in these debates, when we start arguing against each other, why do we struggle so much to see that maybe sometimes we actually want the same thing? Something I decided to call the paradox of common goals. I grew up in France, where something called laïcité is very important. It's the idea that religion and the government should be completely separate, and that religion shouldn't influence public spaces or institutions. But to understand this, I think that we might need a quick French history moment. Also, I don't know if you can hear it, but I caught a cold 2 days ago, so I'm very sorry for that. After the French Revolution, France wanted to break free from the power of the Catholic Church. The goal was to create a society where people's beliefs wouldn't impact how they were treated by the government or in public spaces. For example, in French public schools, students aren't allowed to wear visible religious symbols, which caused a huge debate, especially around the hijab, because some believe that a truly inclusive society should be a place where people can openly express their faith and still be respected. But when you really think about it, both sides kind of want the same thing. They both want people to be able to live according to their beliefs without feeling excluded or judged. It's just that they have different ideas about how to make that happen. One side believes the best way is to keep religion out of public life. Others believe we should embrace and normalize religious expression in public. But it's not just that, Because if it was only about religion, well, things would be way simpler. This debate, like many others, gets more complicated because it's also tied to other social issues, and that's where intersectionality comes in. It's not just about religion, it's also connected to women's rights. Because for some, wearing the hijab raises questions about whether it's empowering or oppressing. So now this isn't just a debate about religion. It's about feminism, freedom, and even brings in questions of race, immigration, and cultural identity. What looks like one debate is often many debates stacked on top of each other. And that's why these conversations feel so hard. Because it's complicated. Because people are complicated. And that's exactly why we can't afford to oversimplify them. I don't think complexity really is the problem, but I'm pretty sure that ignoring it is.
You know, while I was writing this video, I kept on battling in my mind whether I should really make it or not. Because I'm kind of terrified that people are gonna misunderstand this and hate on me for it. But then I realized, wait, isn't this exactly why I should be making this video?
Good question. You are a good question.
Because if we've reached a point where we can't even have nuanced discussions anymore, where trying to even understand each other feels impossible, well, I think that's a real problem. And I think a big part of this is because of growing polarization and cancel culture.
Cancel culture, it's complicated. Like pretty much everything in this video, apparently. The internet gives everyone a voice, which is a powerful way to hold people accountable. But it can also turn things into a game of who shouts the loudest, and can just as easily turn into revenge dressed up as justice. When accountability turns into public shaming, we leave no room for people to grow or to learn. That's why I think that we need to ask ourselves, what are we actually trying to achieve here? Obviously, I'm not excusing bad behavior or harmful opinions, but I'm questioning how we handle accountability, because I really believe that we can't fight injustice with being unfair. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's actually kind of like self-defense. It's about protecting yourself without becoming the aggressor.
Which reminds me of an argument I had with my twin brother. He's not a big LGBTQ+ advocate. We were eating and we started arguing because he said something that I kind of took personally. I don't know why, but those dinners, they just seem to heat up those debates. But because I felt personally attacked, I kind of attacked him back. Being like, you monster, how dare you? People are suffering. And I don't want to shame myself, but first of all, that was kind of an unstrategic move. And second of all, well, it was kind of immature. Because if I was a bit wiser back then, I would have seen that, no, my twin brother is not a monster. He just lacked the knowledge at that time.
I know so many people are tired of fighting constantly just to be allowed to exist. I know that. And I hope that one day this will never ever be the case anymore. But I've seen in my life that nobody has ever changed their minds because someone started shaming them for their beliefs and opinions. I know a lot of people don't change, but I think people can change. My brother has, I have, and so many other people I know have. That's why I have hope. I have the hope that no matter our differences, we can understand each other. Not only do I have that hope, but I believe it's necessary that the fight stops being about us vs them. And it can only happen if we see things from a different angle.
When I was 12 years old, I passed an audition for a theater school. And I remember the teacher asking us why we wanted to become actors. I replied at that time that I wanted to become an actress because I wanted to become. I wanted to live multiple lives. I didn't want to just exist, but I wanted to live. That was my reason back then. Now, if I were asked, I think I would actually say, I realized being an actor isn't just about becoming. Actually, it was never just about me. It was about the scenarist, movie director, the editors. All of these people working together, they have the ability to change people because movies help people step into somebody else's shoes.
I think that's why I love movies so much. They help us understand each other. They make everyone feel a little more human. It makes you see the world not just from your own eyes, but with this omniscient point of view that can only make us more compassionate. Because when we see where someone is coming from, their emotions, their struggles, their story, it becomes easier to understand their choices.
It's kind of like seeing people through the eyes of the universe, with more compassion, more empathy, and a deeper understanding of all our human flaws. And that's also why I think that restorative justice is important. It helps us understand why some people commit crimes and how the victims are affected by those crimes, helping both criminals and victims to understand each other.
So does having compassion mean, okay, let's just let everybody commit crimes? Obviously not. That's why we need laws to protect human morals. But it helps people see each other's humanity.
To me, compassion doesn't mean accepting injustice. Compassion isn't just about being naively kind to others, but it leads to more fairness. It's realizing that sometimes things are more nuanced. So we can keep on arguing that this road is shorter, this road is less bumpy, this road has a better view. But in the first place, wasn't our goal to arrive at our destination? Because if we really listened, maybe we would realize that one person in the car doesn't want to take that bumpy road because they have back pains that could get worse. Maybe another wants to take the shorter road because they might run late to their appointment. And maybe someone else wants to see the nicer view because it would help them be less carsick. Then the question shouldn't be about if we need to keep on arguing over the best road to take. It becomes about trying to find a solution. With all of these new perspectives, how can we get to that destination? So I think it's not just that we disagree on opinions. I think we need to learn how to disagree. I think we need to install a culture of debate, real debates. Because in the end, I really believe that yes, compassion without justice is just a feeling, but justice without compassion turns into revenge. Of course, sometimes we might fail at this. I'm not saying it's always easy, but I think we should try our best. Ridiculously fail, learn from that, and try again to do our best. But, you know, like I said, maybe I'm wrong. So maybe we should really debate on this one. If you like this video, you might like my other videos. You can also follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you soon.